Jumping in, buddy.
Thank you.
Dan, welcome back, man. Good to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
King of Chicago. I also say the Sausage King of Chicago, which perplexed my good friend Hillary here. Do you want to explain the whole Sausage King program?
I had an over-under, a bet of like how many seconds into the conversation until we started talking
Did we win?
about
It couldn't have been
sausages.
faster
We
than that.
said-
I think we're in the under. I think we did good. Yes, I happen to be president of a slot machine company, but I also happen to run a charity event where we make 2,000 pounds of sausage every year at my house and donate all the proceeds to ALS. And a couple hundred people show up. It's my 17th year doing it. And I've kind of revealed it to the gaming industry.
Oh, yeah.
And I just own the Abe Froman crown and just go, you know what? I'm a guy who runs a slot machine company and a sausage party.
You know? Brilliant. Well, it's funny. Like, I'm only jealous because, like, I ordered, to support the cause, but I'm not going to be there to make it. But it sounds like you host a bunch of people. They all come over. And, like, how many
Yeah,
attendees
about
do you
200 people show up in my driveway next week, actually.
Hell of a driveway.
It's nothing crazy. I got my kids' stuff everywhere. I got a lot happening. But yeah, we grill out a couple 100 pounds. There's people from all walks of my life who show up, and some of them happen to be people from this very great industry that we're in, which to me is the best part of what we do, right? It's like a lot of us become friends over the years and coworkers and friends, and it's not all industries are like this. Is what I've learned when I talk to my friends who are not in the gaming business.
Mm-hmm.
So
who starts how did that start?
It actually is my grandfather and I used to make it. And then it started 17 years ago. A few of us, my wife and I and my friends, they wanted some, and I was too lazy to make it all for them. I said, just come over the day I make it. Literally, I think there was like 5 of them. And I gave them founders aprons they get to wear so people know I was here before this was cool.
Okay.
And then it just every year people would find out, well, they went. And every year I got a little more professional and just did more and more and more. And now I think we've made 16,000 pounds. I think we've raised like $15,000 or something. And having the gaming people supported over the years has been very cool. I've been in Macau and had people go, hey, you're the sausage guy. And I'm like, wow, I don't know how that happened, but it did.
I don't know if that's better or worse to be a podcast guy. I feel like I get podcast guy. And it's great. It's always flattering, but I'm like, that feels like less awkward to be yelled at. Like when you go, sausage guy. You're like, what? Like that's why ALS? Like, is there a personal time?
ALS, a friend of mine had passed away of ALS about 5 years ago. And right before the party, he actually ordered, I think 10 pounds or 5 pounds of sausage. And he had passed away like days before the party. So at the party, I auctioned off his sausage and said, hey, whatever you guys buy this for, we'll donate to ALS. And then when I talked to the ALS people in Chicago, they were like, that's really great. And so after that, we just went, let's just do this. And I've learned a lot about the disease. And yeah, it's just great. Chicago's very community heavy. People get very involved in their neighborhoods and different causes and things. And it really, once we started doing that, it opened it up to more people. It's been pretty great.
It's good to see you sticking to your roots a little bit. I mean, it's being a Chicago guy. I mean, you're a Chicago guy, but then your company's like last one standing, I feel like, in the Midwest.
And we're very proud of it. So, in the past few years it's been a wild ride for Incredible Technologies. It's a 40-year-old company. We're literally this July celebrating our 40th anniversary. Our roots are in making video games, and that's where it all started. It was all Chicago. A lot of these old-timers in the gaming business were people who started making pinball machines and arcade games at Bally Midway or, other places in Chicago. So to me, I've worked there 21 years. Half of its existence, almost all of as we look and we've expanded and the company's changed, we've kind of said being in Chicago is part of our strategic advantage at the end of the day. It's a disadvantage sometimes when it's the network and the people are out here, but the talent pool we pull from is different, our sensibility. So in the past few years, we've had to really redefine the company, and one of the things I set out to do is, even though we've been around for 40 years of this great culture, we never defined it, ever. It just existed. It's unique in our business that you have a great culture through just how everybody behaves.
Sure.
And I said, well, let's define it. So Chicago Grit became one of our kind of culture pillars of saying people who work here just have a different sensibility for what hard work is and what work ethic is. We're grinded out kind of company. Nothing comes easy in Chicago. It's just the second city in all sense of the word. But people from there have a lot of pride.
Yeah.
So you'll see like at G2E, we built a Chicago dive bar was our
your booth theme?
booth.
Yeah, interesting.
Trade show booth. We brought, arcade machines, had Chicago style hot dogs, a lot of things kind of talking about the Midwest. Midwest is best approach. Like that's who we are. So we've had offices here in Las Vegas. We probably will be back. You need that, but we're the Chicago company.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed I didn't see your booth at G2E because I'm from the Midwest and I would have loved to be immersed in that culture.
Yes, you need the Midwest is best.
Grab a hot dog. Feel like
Did you see it?
18 again. I walked past it. I definitely didn't immerse myself in the theme, but it was right on that row.
That's
I know. Well, if I knew you were giving out hot dogs, you would have got me in for sure.
We imported real Vienna beef dogs from the city. Like we can't give them out and then have them not be right.
Yeah, have like some Costco brand.
We gave away custom labeled Jardiniere that I found from this Jardiniere guy. Which, if people don't know what Jardiniere is, Google it.
Yeah, it's the good hot pepper mix. Yeah. They're all over. It's
Google it.
I will say this though: it seems like, and maybe there's somebody else. I don't know if anyone's as proud to be from somewhere as people from Chicago are to be from Chicago. The only one that comes to mind is like Texas feels pretty proud. Like we're just Texas, man. Like I feel like you two have it pretty covered on like this is where we're from.
Chicago's the best.
I love Chicago. I've been there many times. It's always good. I like it when it's not gray and freezing, but otherwise,
that's part of it.
Summertime Chicago is good. Is my preference.
4 weeks, you're open to being there.
I did one time, just off topic. I was wandering, trying to find a dinner. And I'm walking, thinking it's only a mile away. And one guy stops me on the bridge. He goes, "Hey, bud, you don't want to walk that way." I think dinner. He goes, "I guarantee you, every other dinner is not over there." I go, "Okay." He turns me around. I go, "I'm about to save my life. Not sure, but
that's also part of our
charm. Murder capital. We just don't take the wrong left, right?"
Yeah.
So, all right. So we digress a bit, but it seems like, and maybe this isn't since last time you were here. So you came on the show, Atlanta, and I do the math, 3.5-ish years ago.
Yep.
And I haven't heard a ton about you guys since then. Like, so let's call it 21, 22. Obviously, I follow you, but like, what's been going on? Are you in a different part of the cycle? Are we rebranding?
If I could talk to Dan when I was talking to you guys, I would have much to tell him.
Yeah.
The world changed under my feet, and all that time. Right around that time, I took over as president of the company. Of course, someone asks you to, take on a role like that. You go, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? And everything. I think is the answer.
Seems to be a theme of people that sit there and take on new roles, like, and COVID happened, and this happened.
Oh,
it's like,
man.
that's like they know.
Like, we were coming out of COVID, so I'm thinking, all right, well, we've gotten through that. We're about to launch a new cabinet. It's big, more complicated, big swing at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm watching the industry go the other direction, kind of taking simple swings at the time. Supply chain issues came at us so much harder as a smaller company.
Yeah.
And a series of bad luck and bad decisions along the way that I have to say that a lot of us made of just like, well, we didn't predict that it would go the way it did. Meanwhile, the world kept changing. We kept pushing forward as if everything was business as usual, and it wasn't. So the culmination of the problem, we got hit with a cyber attack. Public service announcement for anybody out there who thinks it won't happen to you. It might. It's happened to a lot of people in gaming. We're very open about it. We learned a lot from it, but it was the last thing we needed during a difficult time already. Wow. So from that moment on, it was, you change the goal line for the company of like, well, what do we think is successful? What do we think is not? What is our playbook today? And I can tell you the one thing it's guaranteed not to be was your playbook from yesterday.
Sure.
And this was a mistake that I've watched a lot of companies in gaming and elsewhere just make, where you keep, well, this is who we are, this is what we've defined, so we're going to stick to this. And the truth is, it's no different than sports. You played football. Yeah. It's like when the other team adjusts one way, well, you got to adjust another way, and you might need to depend on your defense or depend on your offense a little bit differently to help kind of maintain. In that time, pretty much everything that could go wrong did. People lose touch with you personally. They're going, well, where you been?
Yeah, for sure.
And we were working on rebuilding a company. I've been entrusted to run this great organization that to me has a lot of pride and a lot of it's a big part of my life. I've been there 21 years. Yeah. Everything that we put back into it was about redefining our culture and rebuilding, keeping what was good, but adjusting that new playbook for what we needed. And I'm just so proud as I sit here in your, my matching green pants and chair today. To go, we did it the hard way. Not only did we survive, we're thriving and growing. We made a cabinet out of the parts of our hard to supply one.
Yep.
We started developing more volatile themes. We were making games quicker. We were making good decisions. We let go of people. That was really tough to do. We lost some great people. That was tough. We won the market back. And I'm out here in Vegas this week talking to some of our customers that for a while were just like, yeah, we're good with you guys for a little while. Yeah. You guys know how this goes.
Yeah.
Anybody who's in sales,
once you fall off, it takes a minute to jump back in.
Takes a minute, and we didn't force it, and we really earned it the hard way. And I'm just, we're going into the Eilers Awards this week. I'm like, I feel like we already won one.
Yeah, maybe
even if you don't.
Yeah,
like this is the year where we sent a big group because it's like, guys, you're doing the right things. I'm just so proud of our staff that we have. It's a good year.
Yeah, let's talk people and culture for a second, right? So it sounds like that's a big focus of the rebuild. And,
yeah.
And I'll say from, my AGS days, we thought about you, not a lot, but you were one of the group that we didn't always think about the big three. Like we weren't always in our mind chasing Aristocrat or at the time Scientific Games, but now Light and Wonder. It was always looking kind of more to peer set, right? And you had Incredible and Every and Konami was kind of the people that we talked about. And so we always looked at culture as AJ's staple. Culture was like a fundamental word we talk about every day.
Yeah.
And we always thought you had a good one, was a perspective as well. We said, Incredible seems to have this great culture. And it always felt like people were like the forefront. Maybe there wasn't a codified set of commandments on the wall that said this would have. So when you said you had to let people go, I'm curious, right? Was that a financial problem? Hey, we got hacked. We don't have any money. We just can't afford you. Was it it's about time we actually maybe look at some standards and up against the standards, hey, some of these folks just don't make the cut, or both? Like, what fueled the letting people go? Because that was almost a thing you never heard of. Like, you never, Incredible fired anyone? No, it never happened. Yeah. And part of it was people just love working there. They're not going to leave. Yeah. Part of it was maybe you just didn't do that. Like, so I'm curious to hear that and how that relates. Like, what prompted that? I think
it's a little of column A, a little of column B. Yeah. It's a recognition that, to grow, if I'm going to say we got to rip up the playbook and change, you got to rip up the playbook and change. And all of us had this moment in time where it's like, well, who's going to stay and do this hard thing? Because it might be a couple years, which it was, by the way. And the crew you need to do that is a different kind of energy and a different kind of stamina. And a lot of our greatest people stayed as well. And there's great people that moved on and had great careers too. And it's like, it wasn't easy. And I was warned when I took the job how hard it really is in real life. And it's much harder than that. It was hard not to take it personally in the industry. When we were down a little bit, there was a few people that felt quick to almost, kind of kick you off to the side while you're down. Hey, you're down. And you go, well, wait a minute. Like, I got a decade or more of good equity built in here of doing the right. Listen to the customer, make the changes. And that's why, like, now that we're through that period, it's the optimism and the results we're having. I mean, every time one of those Eilers reports comes in, every time any kind of order comes in, we're ringing the bell, man. People are pumped up. They feel it. And that part of our culture, we're small. That's how it goes when you're small. You feel the waves more, good and bad.
How many employees do you guys have?
We have, I think, 220 or so, but a portion of them work for our amusement Golden Tee side of the business, which is the video golf game that's in all the bars and restaurants. That's what built the company, is our amusement side. But on the gaming side, I think it's a good 160, something like that.
So when you were going through that big transition period, did you guys skim down and then build back up?
Yes.
How did that go?
Pretty much. And we started focusing on other parts of rebuilding infrastructure portions of the business, which are not very public. You wouldn't notice it, but rebuild, the finance department, the operations department, the, pieces that just you need functional and process to flow. But all along the way, we got a new product pipeline, that comes out, new product management, new sales leadership, new microphone.
Sorry. Yeah.
Like, I'm a hockey guy. So we view it, hey, we got put in the penalty box. Do your time. Don't complain about it. Don't yell at the ref. But when you come out, man, you come out ready to score. You'll make up for it.
So you mentioned, a lot of hard decisions the last couple of years in terms of, it sounds like cleaning up the image, cleaning up some of the performance, maybe the structure. Like, just lessons learned as a president, if you were coming back saying, hey, man, top two maybe, or, what are some of the things you take from that going, okay, man,
lessons learned.
It was tough, but what'd you really take from it?
The decisions you need to make them sooner than you think. And I bet you most people that have sat here have said something similar to that. because it's way easier said than done.
Especially for people decisions.
Yes.
Because I think that's one thing, Andrew's on Talking Culture. He and I talk a lot offline about this, where it's like a lot of times, hey man, that's just not it. And there'd be people watching this going, you didn't live this the best either. You're right. I also delayed decisions. I can speak from experience, but you just go, look, like, the time, like all you're doing is trying to, and there's a whole debate on like performance improvement plans. And a lot of times like, that's just, all that is a legal justification to get rid of somebody. Like just make the humane choice.
Do it right.
Take care of them, do a proper exit. But it's like, I don't think I've ever regretted it. Like and that sounds like you as well, saying, hey, we knew we had to make it. It was tough. I didn't want to do it right away. But it benefited you.
Yeah, I think that really, to me, is the crux of it. It's the decisions you need to make. You just got to make them, and you got to move on. And then my other major thing I tell anybody that wants to talk about it, the playbook you're so in love with, because everybody who also sits here is also very much in love with advertising the playbook that they've put out. In the background, scrutinize that thing. Rip it up and rewrite it every 6 months. And I always say, if you end up rewriting the same playbook, fine.
Yeah.
That means it's the right one. But you kind of know when it's not. I mean, I led a company on the sales and marketing side for IT when it was opening new markets. Well, that's like a different playbook than when we had 15,000 games out there and we're trying to still grow. Yep. How you handle participation games or, gaming on. The rules of engagement change a little bit. And you just don't want to be the one that goes, no, but I'm going to hang on to this playbook like it's a life raft.
Yeah.
Because you wrote it. And there's a lot of things in my old playbook that I hung on to too long. And you just can't be enamored with your own rules. I don't know. Yeah. The market will tell you what's really going to happen.
What were some of those things that you held on to for too long? Besides people.
Man, you guys are hitting me with all the hard questions.
Well, you came here.
I want exact examples.
It's true. I think when I look at what we thought defined a good game, for instance, and what it took and the amount of time it may take, we over-rationalized the industry. So, using an example, we were heavy on very interesting retailing. I'm a big proponent of this. I still am, actually. It's a great thing. Crazy sign packages, crazy shapes.
Jigsaw and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was behind. I was a big proponent behind all that. Well, that's a great add-on to your strategy. But meanwhile, we weren't making the right features. We weren't making the right bet configuration. Some of the basics. So like our good games were getting squandered a little bit. Well, we fixed that. What the next cabinet taught us was we knew we were launching a very basic, simple, elegant but simple cabinet. Not a lot of lights, not a lot of show. Let's put games on it that gamblers want to play and try to make them quick and efficient. That's hard for a company like us that wants to make video games.
Yeah, right.
We got great artists, man. They can make. And what I learned in that mix, sometimes a game that took 3 months to make does better than a game that took 10 months to make. Yeah. Just because you think, well, I applied this process to this one. If it's right, it's right. That's one of the things when I look back and go, I was so married to this process and the retailing of how we do everything that it kind of held us back on just trying faster.
They're like, you just wanted a retail config. Like you said, we have to, like, part of the process must be solve the retailing, solve the merchandising. Whereas, so maybe that problem, I'm like, the process should have just said, is this the right product or not?
Imagine what's so fun about where I work. Like, we can go into a room, draw on a whiteboard, and it can become a product.
Yeah.
That's, like, great power and great responsibility. But, like, we've gotten much more mature in scrutinizing where should we actually put that effort.
Yeah.
And, we had the VXP that goes up and down. And, it's like, it was a great swing. It was fun.
Yeah.
A monitor that moves in gaming in a core box. But at the end of the day, operators want games that do well and last a long time and don't break down.
That's right.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
So we go, all right, well, we should make that. That's
and if it's got enough moth to the flame effect where players like to look at it and I'll play that, like, because you see it's, sometimes it's lights on the side. Like I don't know if they were first, but it was big when I was at AGS to put all the sparkly Orion lights on.
Yeah, all that.
That works. It's generally cost effective. It doesn't tend to break. Like when I saw your movable monitor, I like to think about in sales like, oh, how many calls am I going to get on this? Like, hope it doesn't break. Not saying you were going to make a bad product, but it was just like,
a supply chain crisis during that too.
That doesn't help.
But imagine, like, I'll never be able to out R&D Aristocrat.
Sure.
Or basically every company in gaming. I know this. But I will be able to out innovate in ideas. Our team, Dan Whalen and his team who run our gaming division and our engineering teams that create great stuff. They're allowed to do things here faster.
Yep.
So if I know that that's a strength of ours, speed and lack of red tape, that's what we try to use wisely, and that's where a game like Stack Up pays for us this year was a big hit. Like we made a true persistence game.
Yeah.
When the market said don't. I know it's a contentious topic.
We're going to break it open here in a minute, so just lead us in.
Yeah.
So, I guess, how would you describe so, I mean, I get it. Like, Ari came on, and he's got his kind of, Ari from Tangram,
Yeah.
he has kind of his data view on persistence and why it may be, the advantage player effect isn't maybe as healthy or as good as you might want. Weirdly, after we put that episode out, I feel like I'm team advantage player. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but like, because these guys are all on YouTube and they're commenting, which is great, and they're like, yeah, but you don't understand this part. And I'm like, oh, okay, like there's not just like maybe in isolation the data point is it's not great, but I don't know that they're across the board bad for the business, right? So I'm just curious, like, what was the contention going into it? What made you say yes to doing it?
Here's what I say: Ari is right,
yeah,
and your advantage players are right,
yeah,
and the tolerance of
way to take a side, Dan.
I'm running for politics.
Yeah, exactly.
The argument, it comes down to the tolerance of the operator, of what they want to deal with or not. So the way we're viewing it, it is clear as day. The market wants these kind of games. Mm-hmm. We've made them, and also clear, they're not all made the same.
Sure.
So the bucket of true persistence is one of the misnomers that I'd like to put to bed. It's like not all these games were made correctly. There's ways you have to make them so that when those games start, they start correctly and that they hold correctly over a long period of time. They weren't all made that way. Okay. So that kind of gave it bad marketing.
Can you highlight the difference just quickly, like if somebody listening doesn't really understand?
Yeah, I mean, basically in the math, how you kind of seed that level of persistence to get the game started takes a little bit of logic on the game developer side that I think took years for people on the game development side to figure out. So then that made certain games more advantageous when they were freshly rebooted.
Got it.
This no longer is happening. If anything, most games that are probably on the opposite side sometimes, like people over-ratchet them down when they're new. They need time to level out.
Okay, so I hear you. So what you're saying is if done poorly, the math maybe historically was right up the front. Like right at the front, you can beat this game up and potentially ruin it for the rest of the cycle.
Yes, and if it's not going to get through its cycle, then you've got a problem.
Yeah, because then you've given all the money away.
Got high limit play on it.
Right. So so it's potentially up front loading it is bad, but really it sounds like dumping it in any one part of the cycle is the problem. You want to kind of have a more.
We've put a lot of effort into that, but we've also learned I'm not going to argue with an operator that doesn't want advantage play on their floor because that's their choice. They're not wrong. So, but what I can tell you we're doing, we're going to keep making these games. And this past 6 months, we've worked on solving the problem. So our solution is going to be basically a filter of some sort where you'll be able to, as an operator, ratchet what is shown versus not shown, even though it's the same game playing in the background. That's what's funny about all of this.
Yeah.
What makes it true persistence is what you see as a visual measurement of how close it is, but we'll let the operator choose how. It's like the Netflix, parent filter. How much do you want to show here? And if you want to ratchet it, if you want that same game, but you want it in the safe mode, we'll let you do that.
What is that? Okay, so help me understand, because when you first said it, what I thought you were going to say was, for example, we were talking earlier about some of the 3-pot games or this concept where the pot grows, and a lot of times it's perceived persistence. It's not real. The size of the pot doesn't actually matter to your odds.
Yep.
But if it's true persistence, it would, right? I mean, eventually can't hold any more coins. It's just going to give you that's true persistence, right? So I thought what you were going to say in safe mode was we just don't scale the pot anymore. So it still happens, but
similar decisions to that.
But in the background, it's the same math. So you're saying, for example, if the pot, and I don't know if it works, the pot can only hold 100 coins.
Yep.
So maybe it hits before, but by 100 coins it's hitting. It's almost like a must-hit-by type of feature. Does that then, and all you're saying is we just change the visual so the player wouldn't know
picture it like this. Let's say it's a must-hit-by pot.
Yep.
And right now it says 99 out of 100, so it's one away.
Yeah, right.
All right. Advantage players, I'm sure.
They're going to go play them.
They're like, I'm going to blow smoke in your face and I'm going to play this game. Don't do that. That's bad, by the way.
I will say most of even on, in our little subset of this, most of the players are like, we don't like those guys either,
they're
right?
Bad.
So
they give a bad name.
That's the bad apple in the bushel, right?
All right, they're going to play because they know there's an advantageous. All right, so that would be the full...
however they jump in, but they jump
in. We would have a middle version where maybe the pot is just bigger.
Got it.
And it's at its biggest size. So all right, it's at the biggest size.
Pretty
it must
close.
be ready to go.
Yeah.
We will even go as far as having a third notch where it's like there may not be a pot on there at all. There's some other thing. But it's the same math playing in the background because our players want these games.
Yeah.
The industry is overreacting to not developing these games. And I think at the end of the day, that's created some opportunity to make them. At the same time, it shouldn't be a whole roadmap. It's a small subset of the business.
Have they stopped developing them?
I think some of the competitors have.
Interesting. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the feedback I got, and granted, it's not like everybody in the industry texts me about their thoughts on Advantage Play, or persistence, but it seemed like a lot of them were like, we're doing it because the players like it, right? And I think to something you said, and we have some operators that we're trying to line up to talk about this, is to say it's the operator's decision.
It's
like
their decision.
If the supplier and the data folks like Ari have said, listen, we are going to present this case.
Right.
Here's what could be happening. They could be playing this game, treating it like an ATM and leaving. Maybe not. They could be blowing smoke and creating problems. Maybe not. They also show that these games are wildly popular for one reason or another.
Average players like them too.
So there you go. So then you say it, and then if, I won't name any casino, but if the casino operator says, okay, we'll deal with that. We'll manage this. That's fine. Then let them play. We'll let them eat cake, whatever the phrase is. But it's like, and if they, to the operators, we just don't want to deal with that. Okay, then they'll put different games on. Like I feel like that ultimately the casino should police that.
Okay, so for listeners who don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
which is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Can you back up? What is the difference between true persistence and perceived persistence? And why did you choose to do that? Why is this kind of taboo that people don't want these kind of games?
Yep. So, and I agree with you. We're actually coming up with a marketing piece to do this because I also think the two are getting lumped in a lot of conversations where people don't know exactly what they are. But to me, anything that's perceived persistence is a made-up size of a pot, for instance. The pot gets bigger and bigger. It really has no impact to what's about to happen on the machine. There's a lot of games that have features like that. The thing gets a little bit higher because the time or whatever.
Yeah, it's like even like 88 Fortunes has that. It's a wildly popular game. I love that game. But you go, the pot gets bigger, and what's frustrating is the pot can be full, and you don't win. The pot can be empty, and you win twice.
Yes,
like so, it's not a real person, but it's.
And we all do it. You're like, the pot looks big. I'm gonna keep playing.
For sure,
like,
you can know it and still fall for it.
So anything that's true persistence is something with a visual indicator that tells you how literally close it is. So, like on Stack Up Pays to create the expanding progressive free games, it'll say this needs to hit by 100 collections of that color, and you're at 99. So now it's like, or like we had a game like Power Push, where the diamond, the big value, is sitting on the edge. Well, that diamond's worth more than the others, and it's gonna fall next. So anything that has a literal answer to that, where it gets out of hand, there's people trying to game that system. They're studying it. They've learned a lot about how slot machines work, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes they're keeping track of what's going on. They're doing this and that, and it's just not a good look. Then if that's something that you don't want at your property, like that, a lot of people have rules on these types of players.
Yeah. And then how would you know if it's a true persistence game versus a perceived persistance? Is there like a list somewhere?
If you see numbers at all, that's the factor that describes it. So if you see anything on that game that says, X out of Y, it's true persistence game.
On the screen. With the graphics.
And I'm sure there's places where people catalog all these things.
It's probably on Reddit.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. In the casino, if you're just walking on the floor, it is anything with a collectible or a, something visually, literally that you could see. If it's just something with sizes and changes or fun graphics, it's perceived.
Okay.
I think people understand it. Like, I've collected 5 out of 6 of these. If I get one more, it's done.
And casino operators don't like these games because they think that it might cause some issues, or because people are going to track it and
so the other
when it's going to hit.
Factor in it is back to education. So if the games are configured incorrectly, or you don't have a lot of volume of play, you're never going to complete these cycles of play. So then you might get somebody who comes in, hammers it at the high limit play. Like it shouldn't ever have been set. It needs to be set in ways where an advantage player is going to play right alongside with a regular player who's just happy to play that game, and the cycles will complete.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really hot topic. I feel like it's been coming up more and more, and we're not going to shy away from it. I'm small enough to be able to bob and weave and make decisions like this, so we're just going to do it.
Yeah, it's probably more risky for you, though, because if you think about the number of games you release in a year to lean into persistence, whereas if you took a big three manufacturer, pick anyone you want, they release over 100 games a year. They go, if we do 5 to 10 true persistence,
no big deal.
We can swap them out. We have other games, right? And it's like, whereas you're not saying you don't have other game, but like, you go, all right, well, if half our library or a third, it's going to be tough, right? And so just as a numbers game, but
yeah, we're keeping it small for that same reason. So yeah,
it sounds like you're having success with them, though.
Yeah. The market speaks, right?
Yeah, I mean, my view on it, as long as you're not bullying someone out of the seat, who cares, right? Like, because all these guys, you start reading. So I went down the wormhole on the Reddit pages, right? And I don't, but I'm just reading it, going, oh, all these guys are going, hey, you know how hard it is to figure out these games? Like, you might say, 99 out of 100, that's obvious. But sometimes, like, well, how many times does that increment?
Yes.
It's not like the next spin, right? They're going, well, it takes 25 spins on average to get the increment, so therefore and it's like, these guys are doing, like, advanced calculations. I don't know how long it took them, but part of me's going, hey, man, if that's all the work you did to make sure you were in the chair when the prize went off, I didn't do that kind of work. I was just hoping to get lucky. Like, what am I going to do?
Pretty impressive, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Like, some of this is pretty, like, you should hire them. They're doing some pretty, math-wise. And so it's like, all right, that doesn't bother me. Now, if there's an old lady, not old, I'm picking on, but like, there's a lady on the chair and you bumped her out of the way, that I have a problem with. But like, if you're just saying, hey, no one's there, it's my turn, I'm going to feed it until I hit it, like, I don't know, go for it.
And these games, so long as the cycle's complete and the cycles are reasonable, are fine.
Yeah.
But they weren't for a while.
Well, that's what it's at. Well, like anything, the trailblazer pays the price. So, maybe that's it there, but I'm just curious. So as we think about moving forward, right? So you just finished this couple-year rebrand or rebuild, or however you want to call it. Like, internally, you had some gut checks, and now you're coming out of it. And so, but to your point, hey, when you're not in the spotlight, most people don't think of you. Most people aren't thinking. And so there may be a lot of people listening going, well, I have my file in my brain that says incredible is this. Yeah. And that may be outdated. So what should it be? Like, moving forward, if you're just saying, hey, give me the 30-second pitch on what the new Incredible 2.0 or whatever it is, year 40 and up, now that you've hit the hill. Yeah. Over the hill, Incredible is what?
You used to be in sales. Mm-hmm. That question, that's a very good question, because that's how in sales we have to look at it. Sure. Like, I say our company name, what do you think? I know people think nice people, Chicago vibes, all that stuff, clever games, golden tee, all of that I'm trying to keep. The part I also knew they were thinking that I've tried to get rid of, low volatility entertainment style games. Spent too much time making, crazy cool signage and all this kind of stuff. Yep. To answer that, we've come out with gambler style games, redefined our art package, our audio package, our math package, all of it. Like, these are games that are meant to be, that can survive in the modern world that we're in, and maintain the quality of life for our employees and live up to the standard of what our company is. Yeah. It's a company that makes games out of Chicago in a great environment, and that's what we want to be.
So, switching gears a little bit, can you tell us a really good gambling story?
Really good gambling story.
Sounds like you guys are really fun. You probably have a lot of Vegas stories.
I have basically one, and it's the reason I'm in this entire business. Okay. I'm 23. I had just started at the company, and one of my jobs was running Golden Tee tournaments around the country. I make a proposal to my boss at the time. I say, we should do them in casinos. At this time, there's no casino gaming at Incredible Tech. I mean, this is just, we're a game company. So I fly to Turning Stone, Tunica. We picked 4. I looked on Google Maps. Like, these 4 look good. Yeah. The Riviera, which is knocked down.
What a selection.
Harrah's Joliet. All right, that's the mix. So I'm in Tunica. I think I'm not even engaged yet. I'm broke. I'm just getting started in my career. They gave me a free steakhouse voucher. I'm like, this is great.
King. Yeah.
This is great. I take whatever $50 was in my wallet, and as I'm waiting for the steakhouse, I played Wheel of Fortune for the first slot machine that I've ever played in my life. Within the first 5 minutes, I hit the jackpot for $1,300. And the little old ladies, because it was in this case.
Yeah, for sure.
Next to me were like going nuts because I didn't know what I hit. I'm looking for the wheel. I hit the thing.
You're like, that's a lot of nickels.
I'm losing my mind. At this point, I'm like, slot machines are the greatest thing ever. I remember calling my girlfriend, my now wife, going like, I just won $1,300. Like, we can buy shoes.
Dinner. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we're doing something. Yeah.
Pay rent.
So of course I make the decision afterwards. So I go back and make that wise decision. I hit $1,000 on the wheel. Session 1.
You're up 2
right?
G's. Yeah, exactly.
I'm up 2 G's. I should have quit that day.
For sure.
I, from then on, fell in love with slot machines. So when this company goes, we're going to get into gaming, I like raised my little hand in the background. I love slot machines. I was obsessed with WMS, Lucky Lemmings, Dean Martin Wild Party, my favorite game of all time. I think I said that last time.
It might have been, yeah.
And because of that genuine passion that was started by this stupid luck, like I haven't won that much playing slots. Probably since. Okay. And so I look at that, I think it's some kind of poetic cosmic moment of like, you're going to win tonight. Yeah. Lady Luck is like tonight and only tonight.
Yeah. And one night only.
And it's got a core memory.
Because it got me invested.
Yeah.
And I loved these games from the minute that I started making them, which was pretty rare if you're not from Vegas and you're not. I love slot machines.
I'm just really glad you didn't lose it all.
Oh, I know.
Thought that was the second half of that story.
Sorry, babe. Cancel the shoes.
No, I hit it again. I couldn't believe it. On the same machine, same. So it's like, to me, it's probably more just that story to me speaks to why I love the industry. And I still love the games.
And then now that you're coming back swinging, you got to call someone out. Who should come sit in the green chair with or without the matching pants?
I think the matching pants should be.
It really completes the look, in my opinion.
Have you had Kent Young on the podcast?
Kent Young, no. Aussie. Love it.
You got to have Kent Young on your podcast. That guy's one of my mentors. I look up to him, but he's also entertaining as hell and seen it all. He'd be great. And if you haven't had Takashi on, he'd be another one I'd say you consider. I'm loving watching what Sega's doing.
Yep.
I keep in touch with all the smaller manufacturers because it's like we're all fighting the same.
It's your own lunch table. There's like different lunch tables, right? Like, we're sitting over here. Yeah.
We're listening to the cool music, okay? And there's a lot of those in gaming. There's a lot of good people in gaming.
Yeah, and you're one of them, buddy. All right, brother. Appreciate you coming by.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man.
It's
just
fun.
Like that. Yeah, it was fun.